Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Prabhu. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Munachari. Yamuna Tira Munachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Munachari. Yamuna Tira Munachari. Jamuna Tira Munachari. Jamuna Tira Munachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. 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 Sri Sri Radha Madhava Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Partha Sarati Ki Jai. Sri Sri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ji Ki Jai. Sri Sri Gaurnitai Ki Jai. Sri Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. So, we're continuing our study of Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 28, text number 38. This chapter is entitled, Puranjana Becomes a Woman in the Next Life. What does it mean in the next life? It means that in this life he didn't go back to Godhead. That's what it means. He made a mistake. Let's find out what it's all about so that we don't make the same mistake. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayo Mudirayet Nastapraye Svabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Daishtiki Om Agyandimirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Bande Sri Gurun Dinatarinam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya evacha Patitanang pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tapasa Vidyaya Pakva Kashayo Niyamer Yame Yuyuje Brahmanyatmanam Viditaksha Nilashaya Tapasa Vidyaya Pakva Kashayo Niyamer Yame Yuyuje Brahmanyatmanam Viditaksha Nilashaya Tapasa Vidyaya Pakva Kashayo Niyamer Yume Yuyuje Brahmanyatmanam Vijitaksha Nilashaya. Tapasa, by austerity. Vidyaya, by education. Pakva, burned up. Kashaya, all dirty things. Niyame, by regulative principles. Yamai, by self-control. Yuyuje, he is fixed. Brahmani, in spiritual realization. Atmanam, his self. Vijita, completely controlled. Aksha, senses. Anila, life. Ashaya, consciousness. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. By worshipping, executing austerities, and following the regulative principles, King Malayadvaj conquered his senses, his life, and his consciousness. Thus, he fixed everything on the central point of the Supreme Brahman, Krishna. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Whenever the word Brahman appears, the impersonalists take this to mean the impersonal effulgence, the Brahmajyoti. Actually, however, Parabrahman, the Supreme Brahman, is Krishna, Vasudeva. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7:19, Vasudeva sarvam iti. Vasudeva extends everywhere as the impersonal Brahman. One cannot fix one's mind upon an impersonal something. Bhagavad Gita 12.5 therefore says, Klesho dikatarastesham avyaktasaktachetasam. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. Consequently, when it is said herein that King Malayadvaj fixed his mind on Brahman, Brahman means the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. So here Srila Prabhupada is giving a very strong emphasis and understanding on the meaning of the word Brahman to our Vaishnava, Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. That for us, Brahman actually means Parabrahman. And that the Srimad Bhagavatam, when it uses the word Brahman, is referring to Parabrahman, which is the Supreme Brahman, which is Vasudeva, Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. And that Parabrahman is none other than our Parthasarathi, who we are establishing a loving relationship with through service. So here, in this particular shloka, the example is given of King Malayadvaj. So he conquered his senses. How did he conquer his senses? Tapasa, by austerities. Vidyaya, by education. By worshiping. By following regulative principles, niyame. And yama and niyama, following the rules and regulations. So the rules are what we follow, and the regulations are what we avoid. So that's yama and niyama. Niyama are the rules, what we do. And what do? We chant Hare Krishna. We attend the artis. We take Mahaprasad. We study the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. We share this knowledge with others. That's niyama, the rules. And the regulations are the 4 regulative principles. We follow those. We regulate our life according to that. the 10 offenses, no aparads, no criticizing, no finding fault, no speculation, and no inattentiveness while chanting the holy name of the Lord. So that's the yama and niyama. So King Malayadwaj, he followed these principles, and therefore he conquered not only his senses, but his life and his consciousness became perfect, because he fixed everything on the central point of the Supreme Brahman, the Parabrahman, Sri Krishna. So Prabhupada, in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahmabhuyaya kalpate. That one who engages in full devotional service, which means complete devotional service, 100% devotional service, 24-hour devotional service. That's what Krishna means by full devotional service. Then he does not fall down in any circumstance, because he's always connected to the Parabrahman. And at once, that person transcends the modes of material nature. So we become transcendental when we're always fixed in our bhakti yoga. So if one is factually engaged in the service of the Lord, he automatically controls his senses. Why? Because he becomes purified. His senses are no longer interested in the impure sense objects. There's this purified sense objects and the impure sense objects. The impure sense objects, where we want to exploit material nature for our own pleasure. We have desires, and we want to fulfill our own desires. And therefore, we focus on the sense objects, the material sense objects. But the bhakti yogi, he focuses his mind and senses on the purified sense objects. So let's go through them. What are the purified sense objects for the eyes? The purified sense objects for the eyes are the deities. We don't go to the cinema to see whatever, some phantasmagoria, but we come into the temple to see the beautiful darshan of the Lord. Every day is a different beautiful darshan. So that's a sense object for the eyes. Other sense object for the eyes is to see the Vaishnavas, to see the beautiful paintings, to see how this temple is built, the house of worship of the Lord. So in this way, that's the sense object for the eyes. What's the sense object for the tongue? Well, purified sense object is prasadam, Krishna Katha, right? Harikatha, speaking, doing Krishna Kirtan, exactly. The purified sense objects for the ears, hearing the pastimes of the Lord, hearing the Shastra, hearing the Kirtan, hearing everything that has to do with Krishna Nam, Krishna Rup, Krishna Gun, Krishna Leela, and also Krishna Sangbad, Krishna Shiksha, everything to do with Krishna. In this way, the Bhakti Yoga, he engages his senses in the purified sense objects, and therefore he transcends the modes of material nature. He's not attracted, not interested in them, because he's becoming more and more purified. So we talk about taste, ruchi. We lose the taste for the material sense objects that once gave us some fulfillment. Now we have no interest in them. Doesn't do anything for me. But the real taste now is for the holy name, for the holy Shastra, for the holy Katha, Nam, Gun, Rup, Leela of Krishna. We have a taste for that. So we have to engage in the Bhakti Yoga process with all sincerity. Excuse me. Prabhupada often refers to performing bhakti yoga with all sincerity. What does he mean when he says we should be sincere in our bhakti yoga practice? I mean, we can say it, but what does it mean? What is the meaning? The meaning is that bhakti yoga means for the pleasure of the Lord, for the benefit of the Lord and his pure devotees. If I'm doing it for my own benefit, I'm practicing bhakti yoga because I want something. I want mystic powers. I want to be free from material energy. I want to be recognized as a great personality, as a pure devotee. I want people to bow down before me and offer me obeisances, give me the maha plate. I mean, if our motivation is for my own benefit, then we're not performing bhakti yoga sincerely. So sincerely means we're doing it only for the pleasure of Krishna, for his benefit. And in the Grihastha ashram, every parent knows whatever you do for the benefit of your children. Whatever I wanted in my life becomes inconsequential as soon as I have children, because now they become the most important function. I do everything for them. All the money goes to feed them, to clothe them, to educate them, to make them happy. And when they're happy, I'm happy. So we experience this directly in the Grihastha ashram. And we should be experiencing this same thing in our relationship with Krishna. That our happiness comes from Krishna's happiness. We want to do everything for Krishna's benefit. All our money goes for Krishna's benefit, to please Krishna. So if we can do it in the Grihastha ashram, we should be able to do it in every ashram. If we can do it for children, we should be able to do it for God. Certainly God is more worthy of our focus and attention than any other consideration. And everything and everyone that we're connected with, we should be directing them towards the service of Sri Krishna. And then even if a person has a fall down, there is no loss. Why is there no loss? Api chet sudaracharo bhajate mamananyabhak, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that if one is on the path of devotional service, but he falls down, not even falls down to some minor thing, but the most abominable activity, if he picks himself up, Krishna says, sadhureva samantabhya, I still consider him to be a sadhu. Because we're weak. We're under the influence of a powerful energy known as material energy or Maya. And so if we occasionally fall down, but we pick ourselves up and keep on going, which means that we never quit, then Krishna considers us a sadhu. He doesn't even consider the fall down. So that's why there's no loss. And the Vedas say that if you make a huge mistake, but you learn from that mistake, then it wasn't a mistake. It was a learning experience. It was an experience to learn, to teach us to go to the next level. So we should be seeing like that. So, api chet sudaracharo bhajate mamananyabhak. So I remember one morning walk, Prabhupada was speaking about this, and he also speaks very clearly about this in the purport to that verse in Bhagavad Gita. That one may fall down 1 time, 2 times, even 3 times, but if we pick ourselves up, carry on in devotional service, sadhureva samantavya, Krishna will still consider us to be sadhus. Then Prabhupada clarified that these are accidental fall downs. We have an accidental fall down. However, if it's a planned fall down, a premeditated fall down that we've been meditating on for some time, while performing our bhakti yoga process, Prabhupada said, that is the greatest offense. That is the greatest offense. So he was speaking like this on this morning walk, and then one devotee asked him, Srila Prabhupada, how do we know if a fall down is accidental or premeditated? That's a good question. It's a very good question. So Prabhupada's walking, and then he stopped. He paused for a moment. And he said, if he comes back, the fall down was accidental. So when I heard that, I assumed that someone had fallen down and came back within a day or two or a week or something. However, over the years in devotional service, I've come to another deeper understanding, because what I've seen is devotees falling down, leaving the movement, and coming back after 20 years and leaving their bodies in the association of devotees, hearing the holy name, getting the garland, and in a glorious situation. And so my realization was that if Srila Prabhupada said, if he comes back, that fall down was accidental, then Krishna honors that. Okay, 20 years later he came back, okay, I'll honor the word of my pure devotee. It was an accidental fall down. And why do we come to that conclusion? Because this is what Krishna says in Srimad Bhagavatam. Especially in that Damodar Leela. Mother Yashoda, she's binding Damodar to the grinding mortar because he's been naughty. But she binds him to with the rope and says, now you have to be punished. And she goes back to the kitchen to continue cooking for Krishna. So then Krishna takes the opportunity to drag that grinding mortar behind him, pulling it with the rope towards the two Jamal Arjun trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. And the Sloka says, that Krishna says, that I know that these two Jamal Arjuna trees were formerly the sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nalakuvara, who were cursed by Narada Muni to become trees. But by the word of my pure devotee, they were given a boon that during my pastimes, they would have my darshan and they would become purified. So now, I must honor the word of my pure devotee, Narada Muni, and give them my darshan. So he pulled the mortar between the trees fell down, out came these two demigods. They saw Krishna, they became purified. Their whole lives changed. So Krishna says in that shloka, to honor the word of my pure devotee. So we can see that Krishna is bound by the word of his pure devotees. So Prabhupada also is a pure devotee of the Lord. And he is also following in the footsteps of Narada Muni, traveling all over the world, spreading Krishna consciousness. So when Prabhupada said, if he comes back, I consider the fall down accidental, then Krishna will honor the word of his pure devotee. And I've seen it in several cases. Devotees came back after being in total maya for decades and were reestablished in full devotional service. And when they left their bodies, they left gloriously, hearing the holy names, having the garland of the Lord. So this is a wonderful mercy that we have. So therefore, we should fix our minds on Sri Krishna, on the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, and be sincere in our execution of the bhakti yoga process. So it is a process that we have to follow, step by step. We don't speculate about it, we just follow it. It's much easier to follow something than it is to start speculating and coming up with a different idea. But why do we come up with different ideas? You know, there's 4 regulative principles, right? No meat eating. Everybody follows that. No meat eating. No intoxication. Everybody follows that. No gambling. How many people follow that? Because mental speculation is gambling. Think about it. What does it mean to gamble? It means that you can either win or lose. If you're right, you win. If you're wrong, you lose. So gamble means it's a right or wrong result. So mental speculation, you may be right, you may be wrong. Therefore, that's gambling. Mental speculation is gambling. So we're not following that rule, no gambling, because if we mental speculate, we may be doing that every single day about this or about that. So we're only following 3, and we follow no illicit sex. So, but we're only following 3 regulative principles because we're mental speculating all the time. Because when you follow Shastra, there's only one outcome. You're right. If you're following a Shastra, you're always right. If you're quoting Shastra, you're never wrong. So that's not mental speculation. That's the Bhakti Yoga process. But if there's 2 possible outcomes, I may be right, I may be wrong, then that's mental speculation. So there's 4 principles. So this is part of the yama, that we have to regulate our mind, not speculate. So we're following tapasa brahmacharyena. So that brahmacharya means that we're not going to follow the dictates and the urges of the body. What are the qualifications of a guru? Vacho vegam, manasakroda vegam, jiva vegam, udara pashta vegam. These are the 6 qualities of a guru. One can be a guru if he's controlling these 6 urges. And he can make shishyas all over the world, according to Rupa Goswami. Who accepts Rupa Goswami? We all do. So that is the bona fide definition of who can become a guru. So we have to follow these principles that are given to us. So the austerity for us is Vacha Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udarapashta Vegam, so by following the regulative principles. And this can easily be accomplished by always connecting to the Parabrahman spiritual energy, by chanting the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now the mantra, which we call, or which is known as the Mahamantra, it's known as the Mahamantra, the great mantra, to distinguish it from other mantras that give other benefits. All mantras give a particular benefit. The Mahamantra gives a specific benefit that reestablishes our loving relationship with the Lord so that we can go back home, back to Godhead. For example, the Ganesh mantra, Om Ganapataye Namaha, is to clear all obstacles in your path. It's not to develop pure devotional service. You worship the mantra for Saraswati. It's to improve your intellect and your artistic talents. It's not to go back home, back to Godhead. So therefore it's called the Maha Mantra to distinguish it from all other mantras. However, amongst our Vaishnava community, we don't have to distinguish it amongst other mantras by calling it the Maha Mantra because we already know that. We already know it's the greatest mantra. Therefore, in our Vaishnava community, we refer to it as the Prema Mantra. Because this is the mantra that gives Krishna prema. And this is Lord Chaitanya's mission. He broke open the storehouse of Krishna prema and he distributed it profusely to everyone through the chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And as far as Srila Prabhupada and all the acharyas were concerned, this is the most important limb of devotional service, chanting the Maha Mantra, or what we now know as the Prema Mantra. And this you can do whatever other service you're doing. If you're cooking, you could be chanting Hare Krishna. If you're doing puja, you could be chanting Hare Krishna. If you're washing the pots, you can be chanting Hare Krishna. If you're cleaning the temple room, you could be chanting Hare Krishna. If you're driving the car to go to a program, you can be chanting Hare Krishna. Everything you do, you can be chanting Hare Krishna. So this is the greatest service because you can be done with any other service. So here, Malaya Dwaj conquered his senses, perfected his life and his consciousness by following the process. And the same can be true for us. We follow the process, no mental speculation, sincerely, to please Guru and Krishna, and our own benefit will be taken care of automatically. I don't have to think, what is my benefit? What do I get out of it? Just serve Guru and Krishna sincerely, and they will take care of our benefit. And I've had practical experience of this, that when I stopped thinking of my own benefit and making my own plans and surrendered to Krishna, okay, Krishna, you take care of me. I'll just follow whatever plans you have for me. And then I found my life was much better, much better. Everything just fell into place so nicely. Boom, 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 boom. I was so amazed by how Krishna made arrangements for me that I could never have done by myself. So that's the message for today. Follow the process sincerely, chant the Maha Mantra, and go back home, back to Godhead in this life. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Are there any questions?
Haribol.
You have mentioned one very important point that mental speculation is a gambling. So sometime in service, we also do some mental speculation about devotee, about anything. So what we should consider as a gambling or what?
What do I consider what?
That mental speculation in service.
Mental speculation in service. What do I consider mental speculation in service? Well, mental speculation means that I'm not sure. It could be like this or it could be like that. If I'm not sure, then I should consult a senior Vaishnava. Instead of trying to come to some analyzing and coming to some understanding of my own, I can ask someone else, what do you think? I'm not sure if I should do like this or should do like that. So Lord Chaitanya always recommended that we take the association of the senior Vaishnavas, get their association so that we can stay fixed on the path and always know what to do without having to speculate. And if the Vaishnavas give their blessing in a particular way, then you know that Krishna is blessing you. That when the assembled Vaishnavas say, do like this, it means Krishna is saying, do like this. That's what we're taught.
And about, sometimes we mental speculate about devotee also. This devotee may be this.
Okay, so mental speculation about a devotee. But the first offense is to find faults with the devotees who have dedicated their lives to propagating the holy name of the Lord. Sadhu Ninda. So, Sadhureva Samantavya. We quoted that shloka. Krishna will consider, even if we fall down and pick ourselves up, that we're still a sadhu. So for us to speculate about whether someone is a sadhu or not, whether we should offer him respects or not, this is mental speculation, because Krishna is considering him a sadhu, because he's on the path. You know, one time in San Francisco on a morning walk, Bhakta Thomas, in 1968, who later became Tamal Krishna Goswami, he asked Prabhupada a very interesting question, because Prabhupada was speaking about we have to follow the pure devotee. So he asked, how many pure devotees are there in the world? We have choice to follow others. How many pure devotees are there? So Prabhupada turned to Aniruddha on his other side, on his left side, who was from Los Angeles Temple, and he said, Aniruddha had been in the movement for a year. He was a senior Vaishnava. Bhakta Thomas was brand new. So he said, Aniruddha, how many devotees do we have in our ISKCON now? So Aniruddha said, well, let's see, New York, Los Angeles, Boston, Montreal, San Francisco, 5 centers. I think we have 75 devotees. So Prabhupada turned to Bhakta Thomas and said, there's 75 pure devotees. So Prabhupada considered anyone who was following the process of Bhakti Yoga to be a pure devotee. Not an Uttama Adhikari pure devotee, but a Kanishta pure devotee. And why? He explained why. Because he was purely motivated. If you're in ISKCON and you're following the process, you should be purely motivated. Your motivation is pure. Or, as we said earlier, sincere. To please Guru and Krishna. So if our motivation is pure, if we're sincere, then we're accepted by Prabhupada and Krishna, sadhureva samantavya, as a sadhu, as a pure devotee. So we don't have to speculate about other devotees. We just accept it. That Krishna accepts their pure, we should accept that they're sadhus, we should also accept their sadhus. Should I have a different opinion than Krishna? If I have a different opinion than Krishna, can I say I'm representing him? If I have a different opinion than Krishna, can I say I'm his follower? Okay, so I have to have the same opinion as Krishna. Sadhura eva samantavya, even if he falls down. Okay. Well, give it someone else a chance.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the class. So, what is it that's pushing us to makes us feel the need to make some plans? Because you said actually Krishna is making way better plans than us, but somehow we're, clinging on to this.
So what about our plans? Is that your question?
Well, what is it that's pushing us to keep making plans all the time?
Well, because we're taking shelter of our own intelligence, and we're taking shelter of our own power to make a better situation for myself. We have less faith in others to take care of us, and I feel that I can take care of myself better than someone else, which may be true, but it's not true when it's related to Krishna. Krishna can definitely take care of us better than we can or than anyone else can. So we should have firm faith in that Krishna will protect us and take care of us. In other words, for a Vaishnava devotee who surrendered at the lotus feet of Krishna, the environment is not hostile towards us, as it would be to a non-devotee. And that whatever happens to us which appears to be a difficulty is just meant to be a learning experience for us to overcome an obstacle to come to the next higher level. I can give a perfect example. Srila Prabhupada, before he went to the West to preach, there were so many obstacles. It was so difficult for him to even get a passport and then to get passage and to get sponsored. He could have just said, Krishna doesn't want me to do this. But he didn't give up. He never quit. Because quitters never win, and winners never quit. So he took shelter completely of Krishna, and look at the result. So we have to overcome these obstacles that are there by taking full shelter of Krishna. Him and then you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, my question is that mental speculation, can you please define in little detail, because in our service sometimes we take experience from the outside world, and in outside world some theories are developed based on mental speculation only. So it's like we take some learnings from in our management system from outside studies and courses. So what should be the balance? Because like they didn't follow any Shastra Praman before developing any theory or any practice. So
Okay.
so how to reconcile, please?
Okay, so we always have two choices. Here from the Shastra, we're giving the Shastric choice. And then outside, we get the mental speculation choice. So how do we find the balance? The thing is that we accept the Shastric choice 100%, heart and soul. We don't accept the mental speculation choice, although we may sometimes have to use it in our service. But we don't accept it, we don't embrace it. Okay, so I have to do this or that in order to get this or that. But I don't embrace it, I don't believe it, it's not 100% something that I make my heart and soul for. So my heart and soul is for whatever is in Shastra, but sometimes when we meet other people and they give some mental speculation, Vaishnava has to be polite. A Vaishnava never causes harm, Prabhupada said, to even an ant. So when Prabhupada was preaching, he always spoke in a nice way, but would give the true tattva without hurting that person or without denigrating that person, without making that person feel bad. So, and then the Shastra says that we have to learn how to take gold from a dirty place. We have to learn how to take a good wife from a bad family. We have to learn how to take advice from someone who's not very educated, if it's good advice. So, just for example, Prabhupada, when he was beginning his preaching after he left his Grihastha ashram, he started a Back to Godhead, but it was more of a newspaper than a magazine. Now it's a magazine, but it was more of a newspaper then, and certainly it wasn't a book. And then one day, one of his readers said to him, what you're writing here is very first class, but it's like a newspaper, and people don't keep newspapers. If you write a book, then people will keep it, and your message will last much longer. So Prabhupada accepted that advice from that person. So sometimes we get good advice, sometimes we get bad advice. So we can follow or not follow accordingly. But we're always respectful. So there may be some mental speculation that comes your way, but you don't have to accept it. But you're polite. You're printing books? How do we know if it's mental speculation or divine? Well, Prabhupada always said, you judge by the result. We know mental speculation because we're always mental speculating, and we see what is the result of that. It's not good. So now I have to learn how to follow the inner voice, the divine inner voice speaking to us. And when I came to this realization, I found it was not so easy to follow the inner voice, because over many lifetimes I was habituated to mental speculating and coming up to my own idea about this or that. So it's a practice. You have to practice to hear and follow the inner voice. And when we're able to do that, then we're known as being Paramatma realized. And Prabhupada was Paramatma realized. He heard Krishna speaking to him from within, and he followed it. When Krishna said, go here, Prabhupada heard it and went there. Krishna says, say this, Prabhupada said this. We experience in our preaching, sometimes we're preaching to somebody, we're giving our argument, they're giving their argument, then all of a sudden I come up with a very powerful argument that they agree with, and it solves the whole discussion. But then later on I realize, where did this argument come from? Because I'd never heard it before. How many people have had that experience? Because this is Krishna. When we're following and preaching on his behalf, he speaks through us sometimes. And we hear words coming out of our mouth that are so powerful and that I've never heard before. And so I can't say it came from me. It came from Paramatma. So Prabhupada was Paramatma realized. We have to become Paramatma realized. And it's a practice. We have to practice to hear that inner voice and to become the instrument of Krishna's will. It won't happen like that because we have some skaras over many millions of births to mental speculate. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, very grateful for a wonderful class as always, inspiring, profound realizations and a lot of Prabhupada connection. Thank you very much. My personal question on this is that you told us that it's essential to follow the process sincerely. By the process, I am also considering that service is also part of the process, not just the sadhana. So one of the difficult services which one has to do is in management in the temple. And sometimes you may respect someone, you may be even inspired by the person, but you are forced to disagree with the person. And however hard you try, you're not able to convince the other person about your intention is not to displease him, but to establish a certain understanding that you have. So how does one deal with one's own consciousness in this matter? When even one doesn't like it, one makes enemies.
Okay, very good question. So the solution is always to be humble. And I give you an example. Supposing someone's doing some particular service and he's not doing it very well. And you're in the position that you're his authority. You can just say, there's two approaches. You can say, you're not doing a good job. I don't think that you should do this service. I want to bring someone else in to do this service because you're not doing a good job. That's a negative way. That means you're taking a superior position to him. But if you took a humble position, you could come to him and say like this, Prabhu, I know that you can do better. I know that you're not working to your full capacity, that you have so much potential to do much better, and you're not working to your full potential. I don't know why. Is there something disturbing you or bothering you? I want to encourage you to do much better in your service because I have so much faith in you, and I've seen that you can do much better. In this way, you're encouraging him. Now, if after some time goes by, he still doesn't change, then you have to come to him and say, look, maybe another service is going to be more beneficial for you because you don't seem to put your heart and soul into this service. Is there another service that you would be more inclined to? Because Prabhupada taught us that in the beginning we should do service according to our propensity because we're not advanced enough that we can do any service. So we have to find out what is your propensity. Okay, you like doing that. You like distributing prasadam. Okay, go out and do food for life instead. You don't like cleaning the pots in the kitchen. Okay, go out and do food for life distribution instead. For example, when I was in Los Angeles temple, devotees would go out to do book distribution. And some would go out dressed in civilian clothes, and others would go out wearing dhoti and kurta. So I wasn't comfortable going out dressed like a civilian, not so that people wouldn't know who I was when I approached them. I was doing okay, but I preferred going out dressed as a devotee, then people would know who I was. And if they spoke to me, we could have a nice conversation. And people who weren't interested could just pass me by, and I wouldn't waste time talking to them. So that's an example. You know, we just have to adjust, use our intelligence to adjust everything to get the most favorable situation. Is that helpful?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.